Hello, lovely listeners. I'm Julia, who will help you relax and fall asleep tonight. What time is it for you right now, and do you have a favorite bedtime routine? Tell us in the comments. Once upon a time, in a vast and prosperous kingdom governed by wisdom and valor, King Edric ruled with a gentle hand and a discerning heart. In his grand palace of shimmering marble and lush gardens, he nurtured 3 sons, each bearing his own distinct temperament. The eldest, Prince Roland, was a man of ambition and noble prowess, his eyes gleaming with visions of heroism and conquests. The second son, Prince Gareth, was equally bold, his laughter booming across the halls as he delighted in the splendor of life and the thrill of adventure. Then there was the youngest, known affectionately as Simpleton for the purity of his soul and the unassuming grace that marked his every step. Though his brothers were brave and resourceful, many whispered that Simpleton's gentle nature and unconventional outlook set him apart from the usual courtly aspirations. From a tender age, Simpleton had been considered the wild card in the royal lineup. While his elder siblings mastered the arts of warfare, chivalry, and diplomacy, Simpleton found joy in the simple pleasures of nature, the chorus of birds at dawn, and the sparkle of dew on a spider's web. His heart resonated with the whispering winds and the secret language of the forest, and his thoughts often wandered to mysteries that lay beyond the walls of the kingdom. Yet, despite his humble demeanor, there was an inner light in Simpleton that no one could ever obscure. It was a light of kindness, perseverance, and a pure form of wisdom that blossomed in quiet moments of reflection. In the grand halls of the palace, preparations were made for a journey that would test the mettle of the royal heirs. King Edric, believing that adventures held the potential to shape character and reveal hidden strengths, decreed that his sons venture forth into the wide world to seek their fortunes. He hoped that the paths they would tread, be they wild forests or bustling cities, would be the crucible in which they forged their destinies. With hearts full of hope and chests swollen with pride, the 2 older princes, Roland and Gareth, eagerly accepted the call to adventure. Their minds brimmed with thoughts of glorious exploits, knights to be vanquished, and treasures to be won, and they set off with a cavalcade of retinues, confident in their ability to master destiny. Simpleton, however, could not help but be overshadowed by the resounding fanfare of his brother's promised grandeur. Labeled as the simpleton of the family, he was often left pondering in quiet corners as his siblings boasted of forthcoming battles, whispered of secret romances, and imagined their future as legends of the realm. Nonetheless, the gentle call of kinship tethered his heart to the same destiny, compelling him to seek out his brothers even if his own path was less adorned with the shimmering ornaments of fame. And so, under the soft light of a fading summer day, when the air was thick with the scent of honeysuckle and the promise of twilight, Simpleton donned a modest tunic and a small satchel upon his shoulder, and set his feet on the same journey that his brothers had boldly embarked upon. Days passed as Simpleton trod softly along the ancient roads, the shadows of great trees stretching long across his path. The warm glow of the setting sun gave the skies a tapestry of orange and violet hues, and the chirping of crickets provided a rhythmic accompaniment to his footsteps. With each moment, Simpleton's simple heart embraced the adventures that lay ahead, even as memories of his brother's raucous departures. After embarking on his journey with quiet resolve, Simpleton soon encountered signs that all was not well in the vast realm beyond his father's palace. The road wound through rugged hills and dense groves where the songs of hidden birds intermingled with the murmur of distant streams. As he ambled along, he came upon scattered footprints and remnants of a hasty departure from his brothers. A discarded handkerchief embroidered with the royal crest fluttered beneath a sycamore tree, and beside it lay a tarnished dagger, its hilt still bearing traces of noble leather. Simpleton's heart felt a pang of unease. The trail of his brothers was painted in signs of disarray and recklessness rather than noble adventure. With a furrowed brow and gentle determination, he resolved to follow the clues that the world left behind. The path led him to busy crossroads, where travelers from many lands shared stories of fleeting encounters with a pair of young men adorned in fine garments, but lacking the temperance one would expect from princes. Rumors whispered in taverns spoke of two heirs whose revelries had descended into revelrous abandon, their laughter echoing in tavern halls and their recklessness painting the countryside with misfortune. Simpleton listened with a quiet curiosity, his soul absorbing every word, even as he felt both sorrow and responsibility weigh upon his chest. For in his heart, he believed that the bonds of family were not to be severed by pride or folly, and that sooner or later, even the most wayward paths could lead back to the light of reason. Determined to mend the disordered course of his family, Simpleton pressed onward, his mind swirling with quiet hope. The road led him past villages where humble folk exchanged knowing glances at the mention of the royal lineage, and where old storytellers recounted fables of valor and the unpredictable nature of fate. In one small hamlet, a kindly old woman recognized the humble determination in Simpleton's eyes and told him, "Your brothers have lost their way in the allure of momentary pleasures and forgotten the honor that is their birthright." Her words, though spoken in a hushed tone, echoed deeply within him, reinforcing his resolve to find his kin and restore the dignity of their shared name. As Simpleton journeyed further, his path became interwoven with the cadence of nature's own rhythm, the rustling leaves, the gentle patter of rain on ancient stone, and the distant call of a lonesome nightingale. In every sound, he detected a reminder that life was fragile and must be cherished. Thus, with each step that carried him towards the unknown, Simpleton held on to the belief that his unyielding kindness and steadfast spirit could counterbalance the chaos that had ensnared his brothers, even if it meant traversing lands where the rules of decency were trampled underfoot. With every village and crossroads, Simpleton's concern grew, and so did the colorful tapestry of his encounters. He met merchants whose eyes gleamed with both avarice and longing, wandering minstrels who sang of lost honor, and humble farmers who toiled under the weight of past misfortunes. Some, upon hearing his quiet question about his brothers, shook their heads with regret. "They are not as you remember them," an old blacksmith once murmured, his voice heavy with sorrow. They have surrendered to the temptations of indulgence, forsaking the noble path that fate had laid before them. Yet for Simpleton, these mournful accounts were not enough to dissuade him. Instead, each tale kindled in him a determination to steer his wayward kin back to the light of reason. Even as he trudged along dusty highways and narrow mountain trails, his heart remained open to the lessons the road imparted. Every winding turn of the path seemed to reveal not only fragments of stories past, but also silent promises of redemption. At dusk, when the sky blushed with the fading embers of the day, Simpleton would pause, looking out over fields bathed in twilight. It was in these moments of solitude and reflection that he found renewed strength to face the uncertainty ahead. The murmur of a gentle breeze and the distant call of night birds wove a symphony of hope, reassuring him that the journey, despite its hardships, was a crucible for forging true character. Under a starlit canopy one cool evening, Simpleton arrived at a crossroads near a murky, winding river. The gentle song of the water mingled with his hopeful whispers as he sought guidance from the night. In the soft glow of lantern light, he encountered a solitary traveler, a man draped in a tattered cloak which bore the wear of countless journeys. The traveler's eyes, deep and knowing, sparkled with the secrets of distant lands, and he spoke in a voice as smooth as the river's flow. "Young traveler," said the man softly, "sometimes the path we seek is hidden not in the stars above, but in the quiet choices we make along the way." Simpleton, his heart eager yet humble, nodded in silent agreement. "I must find my brothers to restore the honor of our family," he replied simply, his words both fragile and earnest. The traveler smiled gently and placed a weathered hand on Simpleton's shoulder. "Remember," he advised kindly, "true fortune lies not in the riches you possess, but in the wisdom to know when to follow your heart, even in the midst of chaos." With these words echoing in his mind, Simpleton resumed his journey, each step laden with gentle hope and quiet resolve. The night deepened around him, and the soft murmurs of the river carried away his doubts, leaving in their place an unwavering conviction that he would soon find the path to redemption, a path that led not only to his brothers, but to the restoration of the virtues that once bound their noble souls. With renewed purpose and resolve, Simpleton pressed forward into the night, his every step a quiet promise of reuniting his fractured family and mending lost honor indeed. Continuing his determined search, Simpleton finally arrived at a sprawling clearing bordered by ancient oak trees and wild, fragrant meadows. The sun was high, its golden rays cascading over the land, when he heard the distant sounds of raucous laughter and clamor. Following the noise with cautious steps, he soon discovered a scene that filled him with dismay. In a small wooded copse, his two elder brothers, Prince Roland and Prince Gareth, were engaged in mischief that belied their royal birth. They had gathered rugged youths and carefree wanderers, and amidst the uproar, they were recklessly trampling a meticulously built anthill. Tiny ants scattered like specks of stardust, their colonial world torn asunder by the callous footfalls of foolish men. Roland laughed boisterously, shaking his head. What joy we find in this filth. Look how insignificant they seem compared to our grand destiny, Gareth added with mirth. Indeed, brothers, let us show them that not even the tiniest of creatures can stand in our path to glory. In their hubris, they failed to notice Simpleton emerging quietly from the shadows. Cease this folly, Simpleton called out in a gentle yet firm tone. His voice, though soft as a whisper, carried an unexpected command that silenced the boisterous group. Consider the life of these tiny beings. Each ant plays its part in the great tapestry of nature. Have you no respect for the creatures that toil beneath your feet? The two princes scoffed at his words. Roland sneered, "And who are you, little brother, to lecture us on matters of honor and nature?" Gareth chuckled, dismissing the warning as mere babble. Yet Simpleton stood resolute. As he stepped closer, the graceful march of the ants resumed, guided by a subtle, unspoken force that seemed to emanate from the gentle man. In a marvel that defied expectation, the tiny ants began to reassemble their mound with remarkable speed, as if moved by a deep and ancient purpose. Their unity and industrious spirit filled Simpleton with quiet pride, a silent testament to the beauty of collective effort and natural order. Barely containing his disbelief, Simpleton continued on his way, his heart heavy with sorrow for his brother's callous disregard. Not long after, as he meandered near a bubbling brook, his path intersected with another tragic spectacle. Nearby, a flock of graceful ducks waddled cheerfully along the water's edge, their bills dipping for morsels amidst gentle ripples. Suddenly, Roland and Gareth reappeared, this time in the guise of mischief makers, intent on disrupting the natural harmony. With crude instruments in hand, they prepared to disturb the serene passage of the ducks, intent on frightening them away. "Watch over here," Roland exclaimed mockingly. "Let us rid this pond of their meddling presence and claim it for ourselves." Gareth joined in the chorus of scornful laughter. But again, Simpleton intervened. "Do not harm these gentle creatures," he pleaded, his tone mingling compassion with quiet authority. "Their lives, so humble yet noble, are as precious as any treasure you endeavor to secure." As if struck by a sudden enchantment, the ducks, instead of quacking in alarm, began to act in a most curious manner. Their plaintive calls transformed into a synchronized rhythm, and one by one they approached the water with measured grace. In an extraordinary show of nature's whimsy, they gathered in a pattern that formed a shimmering ring around the pond, as though drawing protective boundaries in observance of Simpleton's silent plea. In that moment, the miscreants were left speechless by the unexpected majesty of the scene, their hearts softening ever so slightly in the presence of such a serene display. Emboldened by these small victories in the defense of nature's fragile order, Simpleton trod further along the winding trail. His journey led him to a sunlit glade where the air vibrated with the busy hum of life. There, to his growing dismay, he encountered one final act of wanton destruction. In a secluded corner of the glade sat a buzzing beehive, its honeyed essence the lifeblood of a thriving colony. Oblivious to the sanctity of this living treasure, his brothers had conspired with a band of unruly knaves to dispatch the bees, intending to capture the hive and set its bounty ablaze with smoky torches. As the plan commenced, Simpleton's heart thundered with urgency. He dashed toward the gathering, his gentle voice rising above the chaos. "Stop, you would extinguish a vibrant world for mere folly," he cried. At his words, the conspirators paused, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Even Roland and Gareth showed a momentary lapse in their malicious intent. Sensing the moment, Simpleton knelt beside the beehive and with delicate care fanned the air until the thick tendrils of smoke cleared away, freeing the precious bees to resume their orderly dance. The act was subtle yet profound, echoing the benign power of compassion and the steadfast guardianship of nature. In the wake of these interventions, silence fell over the grove, an unspoken acknowledgement of the wisdom that Simpleton had revealed. His quiet courage and unwavering reverence for life had scattered the seeds of reflection among even the most wayward hearts. Though his brothers initially observed with scornful amusement, the profound impact of his actions left an indelible mark that the very earth seemed to remember. And as the breeze carried whispers of gratitude from the smallest ant to the darting bee, Simpleton continued onward, his spirit buoyed by the belief that every act of mercy was a step towards saving not only nature, but also the souls ensnared by their own vanity. Thus, with his heart full of empathy and his actions guided by a deep, instinctive understanding of nature's delicate balance, Simpleton had defended the sanctity of life with quiet valor. Each gentle intervention affirmed his belief that mercy and wisdom were the true hallmarks of nobility. In that moment, the clearing became a silent testament to the power of compassionate resolve. The echoes of his bravery resonated deeply in heart of nature. As dawn broke with a soft pastel glow over the silent castle, Simpleton awoke to the gentle hum of morning light filtering through ancient stone corridors. The little gray man, standing by a massive stone table, beckoned him into a quiet chamber where the air shimmered with anticipation. Upon the table were 3 inscriptions carved in elegant, archaic symbols that glowed faintly. The gray man spoke in a voice that carried the wisdom of centuries. "These tasks must be completed to break the spell that has long shrouded this castle. Success will restore both the castle and your destiny." Simpleton listened with a humble heart, aware that beyond the words lay challenges that demanded not force or arrogance, but compassion, wisdom, and a gentle resolve. The first task was to collect 1,000 pearls, once belonging to the princess of the enchanted woods. The inscription warned, "Fail in this endeavor and be turned to stone forever." It was said that these pearls had been scattered throughout the deep forest, carried away by a playful wind. Earlier, arrogant attempts by Princes Roland and Gareth had ended in their transformation into cold stone, their last expressions etched with pride and regret. Instead, Simpleton, with his quiet and patient nature, ventured into the forest with care. Beneath towering trees and along babbling brooks, he observed a determined procession of ants marching along the forest floor. In a soft tone, he implored them to help gather the luminous pearls. Miraculously, the ants responded to his gentle words, uniting to collect every glittering bead. In time, they assembled a radiant heap of pearls that shimmered in the soft light of dusk, proving that compassion and humility could harness nature's own magic where force had failed. The second task required fetching a key hidden within the depths of a mystical lake. According to the inscription, the key was submerged in the lake's mirror-like surface, waiting for one guided by true benevolence. Making his way to the lake's tranquil shore, Simpleton recalled the failures born of haste and pride. Instead of reckless attempts, he knelt by the water's edge, and with a respectful whisper to the serene creatures, he sought their aid. A flock of graceful ducks, gliding gently on the still water, heard his heartfelt plea. To his wonder, they gathered near the bank and dove beneath the surface, returning moments later with the polished key clutched in their beaks. This quiet act of nature's kindness, united with Simpleton's tender approach, filled him with gratitude and reaffirmed his belief in the gentle power within and around him. The final task lay before him, to choose the youngest princess among three who slept in a grand chamber, each as lovely as a summer dawn, yet veiled by an enchantment. The inscription declared, among the slumbering princesses, the one who has partaken of the sweetest fare in her dreams is the youngest and the true bride. In the spacious bedchamber, 3 princesses lay side by side, their features serene and identical save for a subtle detail. Legend had it that before succumbing to sleep, the eldest had enjoyed a morsel of sugar that lent a crisp clarity to her countenance. The middle had savored a drop of syrup, and the youngest had tasted honey, a sweetness that lingered warmly upon her skin. With no other mark to distinguish the 3, Simpleton's eyes searched their peaceful faces in silence. Then, in a moment of quiet understanding, a regal queen bee, resplendent and singular among all, drifted gracefully into the chamber. Its delicate wings glinted as it hovered above the princesses, and finally alighted upon the hand of the one whose skin radiated a soft golden hue as if kissed by honey. In that instant, the enchantment of the room seemed to stir, and the chosen princess awoke, her eyes opening slowly with the gentle light of dawn. The magic of the moment was profound, for as the princess stirred, a cascade of shimmering energy flowed through the chamber. At that very moment, the spell that had bound the castle with a timeless curse began to break. Outside, the stone statues of Prince Roland and Prince Gareth trembled and then slowly returned to life, their once impassive faces softening with remorse and newfound wisdom. The awakening of the princess heralded not only the fulfillment of the task, but a revival of hope and unity. The little gray man observed with quiet satisfaction, whispering, "Let the true legacy of this castle be one of redemption and love." Thus, in that enchanted morning, the magic of compassion overcame the ancient curse, and the future promised a new beginning for all who dwelled within these walls. In that moment, triumph and destiny converged to write a new chapter in their lives. With the successful completion of the 3 tasks, a wondrous transformation swept over the castle. The ancient spell that had turned proud princes into cold stone was broken, and the statues of Prince Roland and Prince Gareth began to tremble and come back to life. Stone gave way to flesh, and in mere moments, the castle was filled with joyous cries and heartfelt embraces as the long-imprisoned family was restored to their noble selves. The magic that revived the castle resonated through every hall and chamber, dispelling shadows and igniting hope in every corner. Amid the celebrations, Simpleton and the princess, who had awakened with honeyed grace, were united in marriage. Their union symbolized the triumph of kindness, wisdom, and gentle perseverance over arrogance and folly. The restored princes, now humbled by their fate and enriched by newfound understanding, pledged to honor the bonds of family and learn from the lessons of the past. In the warmth of a resplendent sunrise, with laughter echoing in the rejuvenated halls, the castle embraced a bright future filled with love, reconciliation, and everlasting harmony. Thus, under golden rays of the new day, all hearts soared and promise, weaving a timeless tapestry of hope. After the joyous celebrations had quieted, and the castle's corridors once again echoed with the gentle murmur of life, a calm and reflective peace settled upon the realm. In the days that followed, the castle doors opened wide to welcome visitors from every corner of the kingdom. People came in droves to witness the miraculous transformation, a stark reminder that even the darkest curses could be vanquished by the pure light of humility and compassion. The story of Simpleton's quiet bravery traveled far and wide, inspiring not only the royal court but also the common folk, who saw in his actions the promise of a better, kinder world. Prince Roland and Prince Gareth, once consumed by pride and the pursuit of grandeur, spent many quiet hours in deep reflection. Their hearts, now softened by the lessons of their own downfall, endeavored earnestly to mend the scars of their misadventures. In heartfelt conversations with Simpleton, they discovered that true strength comes from admitting one's faults and seeking the wisdom of forgiveness. Together, the brothers pledged to govern their future with an openness that embraced both tradition and renewal, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would serve as stepping stones toward a more enlightened future. The wedding of Simpleton and the honeyed princess was celebrated as a symbol of unity and hope. Festivities spanned several days, with music and dance that stirred ancient melodies and modern beats alike. The couple's gentle love story became a cherished legend, recounted by elders around warm hearths in every village. As the castle and its restored royal family embraced their new roles, the kingdom itself began to flourish. The people found renewed faith in their leaders, and the land, once mired in shadows of old sorrows, bloomed like the first spring flower after a long winter. In every corner of the realm, whispers of the miraculous events served as a reminder that the power of kindness, humility, and nature's unyielding grace could overcome even the most formidable of curses. The legacy of that enchanted morning endured in the hearts of all, weaving a tapestry of peace, love, and hope that would forever illuminate the kingdom's destiny. Through these hopeful days, the realm learned that redemption truly starts with one kind act. Thus, the realm emerged reborn, its future forever brightened by the enduring power of love, forgiveness, and the gentle hands of change for all time. Sweet dreams. Good night.